Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Key to Football. It's me, Bobby Mays. I'm back, and George is forcing me to apologize to everyone as my leave of absence has been duly missed, I hear. We've also constantly got George O'Gara Martins with us, who's been really holding up the fort for the last couple months. And surprise, surprise, back from the grave, Liam George as well, coming out of the woodwork when Arsenal do as well, which is a bit of a surprise. So,
okay.
It's we've got a full squad here. But saying that, there's been some really, really good guests over the last couple of weeks that I've really enjoyed to listen to as well. So, thanks to everybody that's come on. And I'm sure we're going to have you on soon with everybody as well. So, really excited for today. Before I start, I would love people to give us a like on YouTube. This is pretty much where a lot of our where we're going to be putting a lot of our stuff. So give us a like, give us a comment on YouTube. It actually helps quite a lot. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So, I mean, let's get started. It's been quite a few weeks since I've been on it. I think maybe 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Hiatus. I've been away in Tenerife. Actually, Liam was there for a bit with me as well, for my 30th birthday. So I went away. So George has been holding up the forts. But George, you've actually been on holiday as well. You went to France, didn't you?
Yeah, it was all right. Wouldn't go again.
Tell us how you really feel. Liam, how have you been? I feel like we need to get an update on you.
All good, mate. Yeah, it's a bit sad. My tan's now wearing a little bit thin from Tenerife.
Mine's still going strong.
Yeah, my arms are still doing okay actually, but my face now seems to be returning to its crystal white look. So that's a bit upsetting. But other than that, mate, I'm keeping well.
Excellent. Look, we've got a great podcast coming up. We're going to talk about City, Arsenal, United, Liverpool. So, some of the big guns. We'll also talk about maybe a couple managers under pressure, and we'll go through the scores as well. It's been a really exciting week of football. And I know that we've got some very differing views going on. I've had a couple of complaints about George being in control of the Twitter recently, saying it's like being subscribed to Lad Bible with the hate Mo Salah gets. So that's always fun. But George, you've been doing an amazing job on Twitter as well. So do give us a follow on Twitter. George is very, very active on it, posting all the latest things essentially as well, and a bit of a laughter. Take everything he says with a pinch of salt. No, so look, we're gonna get straight into it. I think that the only place to start for me is Manchester City, and how they've been over the last 3 weeks, since the start of the season. They've looked, in my opinion, shaky, but yet also the most undefeatable that they've ever been, in a weird way. It's strange. Even after the Newcastle game where they drew, you still just thought 1-0, 2-1 down, they were going to win that game. And the same thing happened over the weekend with Crystal Palace, where Manchester City were 2-0 down, came back and won 4-2. Liam and George, did you get to watch it? And what were your feelings on the game?
I got to saw the highlights. I was playing myself at the time, but I remember seeing at half-time, I think it was 2-0, wasn't it? That was just prior to my own kickoff. So when the game finished and I looked again, it was 3-2, 4-2. I wouldn't say surprised, because we kind of expect City to come back at teams now, but I was very surprised to see it 2-0 in first half. I know Palace of the last, I think 2 times they've been up to Etihad, they've actually done pretty well. I think they've nicked a draw and also a win, if I'm correct. Yeah. Definitely a win. I don't know about the second result, but there was talks between myself and a group chat I'm in with a few boys that are big fans of teams in the Premier League, and there was a few murmurs of the bogey team again for City, which has a bit of substance to it. And after 2-0 in the first half, you can see it again. I think they potentially lose that game. Obviously, you could say you could potentially lose that game without Haaland. But if they didn't have that prolific striker this year that they didn't have last year, obviously with Aguero gone last year as well, Jesus potentially nipping in and out of that team, I don't think they come back in that game. I think his third goal just epitomises what he's going to be able to bring to the league. So
that was so much strength, wasn't it?
Strength, but just not only the strength, just the belief to know that he could hold off. I mean, Anderson's no slouch, and I think it was Joe Ward that was beside him as well. Two big lads, and he just thought, "Yeah, I'm gonna roll them here. I'm just gonna let the ball go past me, and I'm gonna easily hold them off." And then to finish it like he did was very good. But I think the back line is get at a ball, if that's a word. I think he's there to be got at this year, so it's going to be interesting.
George, what do you think? I've got a couple of also different opinions, but I want to hear what you think, George, as well.
I was at the Leeds game.
So
similar to Liam, I just came in at half time to see that they were losing 2-0. Couldn't quite believe it myself. But then I thought that, as Liam's alluded to there always seems to be like a horrible, horrible game for them against Palace. Even if they win, it's like usually a 1-0, 2-0. They really have to work for it. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you said before, Maze, they're just almost irresistible in terms of that you feel like your team needs to have 3 goals minimum to actually hold them off, because it's almost inevitable that they will score. Haaland, phenomenal. I take Liam's point, but I think when they get a few players back, filling into the back line, then I think they'll be fine again. But I mean, what more is there to say, really? Haaland class, everyone knew that. Full stop.
It's weird. I at the beginning of the season, I knew Haaland was going to be good, but I thought there might be a breaking in period, and that there's been no breaking in period. He's literally just been the best player on that pitch since the day dot. But do you find his lack of involvement in other areas might cause them issues? Because I think over the game before, he had 8 touches, he scored a goal. This game, I think he had 7 touches in the first half, 8 touches in the second half. Do you think that, like, if you look at his heat map is center of the pitch where he's kicking off the ball, and then it's like and he is no doubt the best poacher in the world at the moment. Is that going to cause some issues when you come up against better teams, when you come up against the Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham's, United's, Champions League teams? Is that going to cause some issues? Will he need to change his game style for those? Anybody have any thoughts on that, or do you guys just think it doesn't matter?
If I go, George, I think they've got enough in other areas to kind of carry that and caveat it. I understand what you're saying, and it did. It also did surprise me when I saw he's touched Mab. Sorry.
Lovely, thanks for that.
Barking now. George, do you want to go? I've got something in my throat.
Yes, mate. I agree with what I think. Like, geez, tonight
I've had to mute him.
Liam's had a heavy night on the beers and the cigarettes, by the sound of it. Probably cheap ones too. No, I think if it was anyone else, I can see what you're saying, but I think with City, they've got enough quality in other areas to compensate for that. And I also think, in a way, because he's out of sync, that's a problem for other teams. It's if he's going to stand there and do nothing as the team trying to stop them, do we just have to have 2 people sit on him and not move? Do we need to have those other 2 people leave him knowing he's not going to do anything? So it's quite the dilemma. I think he's almost like thorn in the side tactically in terms of how do we approach this. Now, I know you want that to be the case, but it just isn't, Maze. They'll be fine. They won't win the Champions League because of the curse that Yaya Touré's agent put on them or whatever. But yeah, they'll be fine.
No, it's interesting. I really agree with that point of, like, last year, you knew what City were going to do, where they were this fluid machine where essentially you just had to play the perfect game to beat them. I think now it's this weird thing where you have to play the perfect game to beat 90% of them, and then you have to play another, like a different game to beat Haaland. Like you essentially have to play 2 games at the same time. It's a really good point, George, because he is just this enigma where he could be. He's not like Mo Salah, where Mo Salah, if he's having a bad game, won't do anything really. He'll just kind of just he might get a penalty or something like that. But Mo Salah needs to be involved in the whole game to pretty much have a good game, I think. While Haaland can be not there for 90% of the game and then have 2 chances and he'll bag both of them. It is a really weird, a really unique thing that City have going for them at the moment. Liam, how you feeling?
I'm just about alive. I had the dog barking as well, obviously scared him. I was like, I'm running in thinking, who's dying? Yeah, no, sorry. I don't know if George touched on it immediately when I was on death's door. But I think, I think they can cater for his maybe lack of not ability, because I think that will grow, and I think he will certainly improve that under Pep. But at the moment, whilst he's still scoring the goals, I don't think they're going to have too many qualms about that. Mm-hmm. Yes, Aguero and yes, Jesus were probably better link up wise, but he's still young. I think he's still got that part of his game to improve. But if you put him in front of goal at the minute, what is it? 4 goals? No, yeah, is it 4 or 5 goals in 4 games already?
I think he's on 5, just for long as I can remember.
He's on 5
because he got a hat trick just then, and he scored 2
hat trick.
Before.
And it was 2 against West Ham, wasn't it? Yeah, did he score against Newcastle? I don't think he did he?
I can't remember. I'll have a look while you go on about your point.
I don't think he did. I think he just got an assist.
I think he got an assist. And I think the game before that as well, he got an assist as well. So, I mean,
he's on 6 goals.
6 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, no, 6 goals, 1 assist.
1 assist. Okay, so I mean, it's not to be sniffed at, is it? Really? Still, I mean, I know we're complaining because he's not the type of City striker that we've seen in recent years, but he is doing the business in terms of what they were potentially lacking in recent years. I mean, he's prolific. So yeah, I think Pep will improve that part of his game. He's good at doing that with other players. He turned Sterling into a good all-round player, I think, and Sterling was lacking in the similar areas. So I think there's a very dangerous potential within Erling Haaland for sure.
My only thing is, the only thing that I think that will get him might be the media, and that's if you look at, for instance, Lukaku had a great start to last season, but his one thing was he wasn't involved in any of the build-up play. He was only there to get goals and poach. And as soon as he had a dry spell, the media kind of turned on him. And then he did that horrible interview, which pretty much ruined his career at Inter Milan. Not Inter Milan, at Chelsea. But because he wasn't involved in that build-up play, there's like an easy picking point for him. So as soon as Haaland maybe, say he has a couple dry games, it'd be really interesting to see what they do in that regard, because it's a great storyline, isn't it? That, he doesn't help in Man. Does he actually fit Man City's play style? Does he? I think that'll be really something to watch. And if it does turn, I said it here first.
Well, have you spotted that, Bob? That's really good.
The media, classic. All right, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question. Right now, who is better, Haaland or Harry Kane? Who would you rather have in your team?
That's the stupidest question I've ever heard in my life. Haaland, obviously, and Liam's going to say Haaland as well.
Yeah, I would say, and that's not because I dislike Kane, but I just think he's got far more potential. I know you're saying now in terms of goal scorers, but I just think he brings something else to the Premier League that I don't think we've seen for many years.
Yeah, I agree. All right, it's interesting to hear though, because I think at the beginning of the season, then it might have been a bit more split.
It might have been Kane actually. Yeah, it may have been because he's proven, and I actually thought Haaland would struggle for a few more games still, but kind of hit the ground running.
Interesting. All right, let's get on to the best part of the podcast for Liam George. I'm sure he's been waiting for months and years and, probably about 10 years to speak about how well Arsenal are doing.
What are you talking
about? Look, we can't deny Arsenal have had a great start to the season. They are currently top of the table, the one every game. Is that correct?
Yep.
It is, yep.
How are you feeling, Liam? This must be a unique feeling for you.
I'm feeling good. I think the additions we've made made a real difference. I think to mentality more than anything. Jesus didn't have his best game yesterday, but he was still involved. Zinchenko didn't even play, but on the sidelines. I don't know if you saw. You probably would have seen if you watched the game. You wouldn't really get a feel for it in the highlights, but was on the pitch half the time arguing with the.
Who was
with the
sorry?
fourth of
You cut out.
Zinchenko.
Zinchenko.
Yeah, so he was injured, so he couldn't play, but he was on the bench and like in his own outfit, and he kept running on the pitch, celebrating with the players when they scored, but arguing with the fourth officials. And it's like this. It's like again, I don't know whether you feel it not being an Arsenal fan, but it's like a bit of a mentality change. And I think last year, that game against Fulham, we dropped points.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the kind of switch up that I think I'm now beginning to buy into. But I'm also firmly feet on the ground at this point because, okay, we've had a good start. We've also played Palace. All right, potential banana skin away at Selhurst first game of the season. Leicester at home. That's a game you want to be winning. But again, Leicester are okay, and they're all teams you got to beat. Bournemouth, not a great outfit at the moment. I thought 3-0 was a good win, but seeing 9-0 Liverpool yesterday, or Saturday rather, made me think actually maybe we should have batted another 4 or 5 past them. So, and obviously Fulham, another newly promoted team. So it's not a case of okay, yeah, we're up there, and I'm hearing some dopey fans talk about, is this our year for the league? And I'm not even, that's laughable at the minute, considering where we've been, and we've only made a few, four additions to the team. Suddenly, we haven't just turned into like an absolute monster overnight. But we're going the right way. We're going the right way, and at this point, I'm firmly thinking top 4 because I look at us last year, and I think we're a better side than we were last year. So I'm definitely thinking top 4 this year.
Do you think you'll push top 2?
No. I don't think so. I think that's punching above our weight for the minute. I think Liverpool and City, they're sort of sleeping beasts at the moment. You can say that, and obviously City is still winning. They've only dropped 2 points.
City haven't started yet.
No, exactly. They're not in their full flow yet, and when they turn on, and same with Liverpool, once they get their flow back, I do think they are missing a little bit of Mane at the minute. I know you don't necessarily agree with that, but I think they've had some changes, and I think you're just kind of getting around that at the moment. But once you do, and I think you will, and you start firing again, I think you two are nailed on for the top 2. So I'm looking at third, thinking, as long as we can keep the performances up, and I'm mainly looking at Spurs, to be honest with you. I think if we finish above Spurs, I think we're finishing top 4. With Spurs at the minute look okay.
They do look good.
Look okay.
George, how are you feeling about Arsenal and this? Like, Liam, that might be the most sensible thing you ever said, by the way, that you don't think they're going to win. I was really anticipating you being like, yeah, I think we've got a little chance.
You think I'm biased? I'm not. I'm realistic.
To be honest, I was fully prepared to go, Palace should be winning that. Leicester should be winning that. Just make sure the people say that they're going to win the league. I'm very pleased to hear what Liam said. I think, like me, Liam will comment on how a meal is after he's finished it, not after he's had the first bite. He will at least wait until he's halfway through the portion to comment on it. I think I agree with what he said about the additions that Arsenal have made. Good additions, really positive ones. And I probably agree with what he's saying about the mentality in terms of it seems a bit more cutthroat this season, rather than, oh, we're winning, great, let's just pop it about and try pirouettes unnecessarily.
With
Richarlison.
Class, absolutely class. I would pay to see that all day.
I can't believe he should have got snapped in half after that, shouldn't he?
What I would say though, and I know, Liam, I'm not saying this is the case. We all know the media aren't Arsenal's best friend.
No.
But I do think the way that Arsenal have started so well has overshadowed the fact that Manchester City and Tottenham aren't a million miles away. I know you're looking at Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea in 6th, 9th, and 8th or whatever, but it's really, really early doors. But Arsenal have started the best way they can. I just think the next few games you've got, where I think you've got
We've got Villa
You've got,
next.
you've got Villa, but then I think Man
Man
United,
United, yeah.
you probably
Ooh.
should win that. But then after
Is it
that,
a home or away, the United one?
That's away.
they're
I
away.
think the real test is going to be. I think it's 3 games. No, it's 4 games time. Is Spurs. That's
Yeah,
really
at
the
home.
first. I mean, I say the first challenge. Man United is going to be a challenge. Of course, it is away at Old Trafford, and they're starting now to try and string a few results together.
Tread carefully, Liam, because May's had egg. He's still got yolk on his face from when he said if we don't win the league or the Champions League last season was a failure and Klopp should lose his job.
Don't remember the
but-
Klopp part.
Yeah, well, if I say it again, it'll come true. But let's say, Liam, you beat Villa, which you should do. You get a point at United. You beat Everton. You beat Brentford, right? Really, really good. What happens if you then lose to Tottenham and then you lose to Liverpool? Because we had this discussion last year where I said it's all well and good you winning these teams, but if you're just going to keep getting bent over backwards every time you play like a decent team, you'll end up just finishing 5th again.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is the. I remember we spoke about this last season, the pod before we played
Tottenham
Man City.
Oh no.
Oh, well, let's not talk about that. The pod before Man City, I remember saying to you guys that from where we are and where we're coming from, I just want to see a performance. The result against City, you can say, oh yeah, we need to get points here. But it's so hard to beat an animal like that when they're ticking. Same as Liverpool. I don't go up to Anfield thinking we need points. I want to see a performance. And I think it's going to be the same for that one as well. And I think if you lose that Spurs game, okay, fine, big game. Sometimes you can get caught up in the London derby. If you then go and then lose again to Liverpool and neither of them are putting in performances, that's when you're starting to then think, okay, we're miles off it again. But I wouldn't, and I know the media will say, not good enough. We're falling off the bandwagon, same old Arsenal and that sort of stuff. But you just want to see performances in those games that are going to be competing, because that's what we need to start doing now. We need to start competing, and I'm not talking about competing for the title. I'm talking about competing for the top 4 at the moment. We need to walk before we can run.
Yeah, look, Arsenal have had a good start, really good. It's been good to see you winning some of those games that you wouldn't have won last year. I
Exactly.
agree. The mentality, it looks like it's really shifted, which is super positive. And I think me and George said in our pre-season build-up that we thought the one thing you guys needed was a bit of like mentality. You needed like this is the Zinchenko. Oh my gosh.
Zinchenko.
Oh my gosh. I can't even say it right now. Zinchenko. You need that mentality. Jesus is, Man City mindset of just winning. I think you do need those. You need those winners in that team, and that's been something that you guys have been missing for a while. Because what Spurs, for instance, who I think are on a very similar level to you guys right now, what they have is they have Harry Kane and they have Conte, who are, just leaders in that sense, and they give that encouragement. Where before this season, I didn't think that Arsenal had it, but now I really feel like your whole team's buying into it a bit, and it's feeling like the start of kind of what Liverpool was when we got Van Dijk and we got Alisson, and it feels like there's been a shift in mentality. And maybe this will be that season for you guys that was like for us, where we came 4th, I think. We just came 4th, but we had a really good run in the Champions League. But we made it really difficult against the bigger teams. We hit them on the counter-attack. We had a good forward 3 at the time. We made it, our mentality really shifted. And then the season after that is when you kick on. And I think next season will be the season where you're not just looking for performances against City. You're saying, all right, we're going to the Etihad. The minimum we want is a draw, because that's if we want to. We don't want just to bend over to Liverpool and City, because you need at some point. What's the point in doing it if you're not going to? But this season, I agree. I think it's really been a good shift for you guys.
Definitely.
And I hope top 3 is very feasible. I think I agree with you. We'll get on to Liverpool now. Liverpool do look like they've missed Mane. And it's not, for me, it's not the reason that I agreed that you guys were saying. I think that Mane is, in retrospect, is that cool head that I didn't realize that was so vital that Liverpool had. We had 3 strikers that when we were down, one of them would just keep their head the whole time, Salah or Mane, one of them would just keep on. And when we were 1-0 down or 2-1 down, the last 10 minutes, we were just the mentality monsters. And I think at the moment we only have Salah, so they needed to kind of block out Salah for the last 10 minutes of games, when before they had to block out 2. And the difference is, I wasn't on the podcast when, oh my gosh, when our new striker, I'm brain blanking, Nunez did the headbutt. I don't know if I told George just to tell him that I was furious at Nunez. He was, red card, definitely a red card. Was it the worst thing you've ever seen? No, but it is a red card. And just we haven't had that. I can't remember the last red card we had on because of attitude and just like not being, switched on. And I'm really worried now that he's going to come back into the squad, or he won't get back into the squad now until after Christmas because of that. Like, I think he's just lost so much respect from all those players. And for me, we needed him to compete straight away. Like, we needed him to do well straight away. So, I mean, look, we'll get on to the positives. Liverpool won 9-0 against Bournemouth. Bournemouth looked like a really poor side. And yeah, I think they are. Even Scott Parker, I don't know if you guys have heard what Scott Parker's been saying recently, but he's literally come out and said, we need help. We need a lot of help, and we're going to go down if not. So, when the coach is already giving up, I can't imagine it's too good for the players there. So I think Bournemouth are definitely the favourites to get relegated right now. But Liverpool looked like the first day of the season for Liverpool. It looked like they'd finally showed up to the races, battered them. They've had a really tough start. Do I think that this is the last of the problems for Liverpool and we're just going to go on a streak from here? No. I think it's going to be I'm going to eat the custard pie here. I think I was wrong with Liverpool winning the league.
Very early. Game 4. Jesus.
I don't think it's the title race is over. However, I think the biggest thing is what we've had the last 4 seasons is being able to win games that we shouldn't win. And I don't know if we have that this season as well as we did. I think we'll still batter teams. I think it'll be quite comfortable second place, but I don't think we're going to do it as comfortably as I thought we were going to do it. So George, bring on your onslaught.
To be fair, I'm absolutely loving it. And it's about time too. But you have to be fair. It's four games into the season. There's all I will say is Fulham. Maybe they were tired, or maybe there's too many games, or of course the pitch. I mean, you wouldn't keep animals.
That was
on
a dry pitch.
Yeah, you wouldn't keep animals on it. It was so bad. But
I thought Fulham played really well in that game, by the way.
And the thing that I keep saying this, and I've said it for quite a while. I've sort of been waiting for it to happen. And my take on the Mane thing is what I've said to you before, Maze, is that you've had 4, maybe 5. You'll know more than me. Absolutely unbelievable seasons.
Yeah.
And that the squad and the players haven't got what they've probably deserved in terms of the effort they've put in, the performances you've put in, the teams that you've beaten, and how you've beaten them. I think with someone like Mane will go, I've had enough of this. He's already won the league in Germany.
True.
He's already probably going to win the Deutsche Pokal, so that's 2 trophies banked. And they'll go far in Europe every single season.
So the quarters minimum, semi-finals probably, and with that team, there's a chance the final.
I just sort of think that people often forget that. For us looking at it, like everyone would literally kill to be a footballer, but I think if you've been doing it all your life, it's just work. And I think in that dressing room, when Mane went, there'll be a few players who won't say anything, but they'll be thinking, you know what? We're not going to win the league this year. We're not going to win the Champions League this year. We had a chance to win 4. We didn't. Sadio's gone. He's putting in 30% less and he's winning more things. I don't really know if this is if this is for me. And I think not about wanting to leave, but once you get into that thing of, we'll just finish second again comfortably, but we're not going to win the league. I just think you lose that sort of spirit, which is what I think happened at Fulham, where it was, we'll just turn up and win today.
I agree. I definitely agree with that point.
Yeah, which you didn't. So the thing is, I think you've got nothing to worry about in terms of top four. But like you said, I think the title race is over, and I think it's time you, as a fan, actually sit down and start saying maybe it's time Robertson goes back to Dundee. But yeah, to be honest with you, Maze, I mean, I'd be wound up if I was you title wise, but otherwise I think you'll be fine. And one thing I must say is, I'm absolutely loving Silla. No goal involvements in 9. Thank God. How long have I been going after him, Maze, about fantasy? Like ever since I've met you, and it's
Yeah.
about time. Diaz is class.
Diaz
Diaz is
was
class.
very good, and he's been the
Do you
shining
think-
light this year.
Do you think he's a bit of a fair weather player, Maze? Like in a game like that, 9, he'll score like 3, but then in like a tough game, he just won't score. Diaz.
No, because that Fulham
Oh, that's
game
fine.
comes out. Bags a great goal against Fulham to make us 1-1, and we were
No,
man
that
down
was
at that
Palace,
point.
Maze.
Oh, Palace.
Palace.
Was that the Was that the
Maze,
one where
it's
we
20
just went down?
25 past 3. Why are you drinking on a
Oh,
Monday?
the whiskey's hitting me.
I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm gonna let Liam take over.
Relegation on the cards? No, yeah, I sort of said it, I think our first podcast this season, I think Nunes he was always going to take time to bed in, and he was always potentially going to struggle. But I don't think he was the bigger issue. I think the bigger issue was Mane going. And I think what George has said actually about the mentality potentially in the dressing room. Obviously, we're clutching and we're just thinking, if buts and maybes. But it's an interesting point, and I can see it.
Can I just jump in there, Liam, just to sort of throw back to you, is that, with stuff like that, do you think that's what Arsenal suffered to a different extent when you did have Nasri, Van Persie, Fabregas, all these players that were playing well, looked unbelievable at Arsenal? They went, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to go and win something.
Yeah, for sure. Because you look at the players that actually left us and where they went, and the vast majority of them went to City, who were the sleeping giant and about to take over the league.
Or United with Van Persie.
Or United with Van Persie. His last, I think, Alex Ferguson's second last year maybe.
He was so good that year.
So I think, when you go into Fergie, you always guaranteed to challenge, and they always had been under him. So I think, yeah, definitely. I think it comes to a point where you enjoy your playing, you enjoy, it's cushy, you're living in London, you're making a nice wage, everything's going well. But yeah, the ones that want to do more than just take a paycheck home, do they really? And I understand what you're saying as well, putting in that caliber of effort just to come up short. And it's purely because the only reason they're coming up short is because of City. That it's the team they're up against. I mean, how many times have we said on here, you're getting 2 points shy of, was it 98 last year or the year before last? I think it was.
Yeah, I can't remember what, I think it was 96 last year, but I'm not 100% sure.
So you're getting that, you're accumulating 96 points potentially, and you're still not winning the league. I think we look at that and think, unlucky. But as a player in that squad and the effort and the time you've put into that, I think that hits home hard. And if you look again and you look at City again, you think they've added Haaland to that. Jesus. I mean, I can understand. I actually thought Salah would do the same. It's not turned out that way, and he signed a new deal worth absolute multi-millions of pounds. But I thought he might follow suit.
I'm going to hit back a little bit on the Arsenal comparison, because not because of the fact that Arsenal's players didn't do that. But
It's a different scenario.
Yeah, Liverpool's players have done that. If you look at Suarez, you look at Torres. We've had those players. You look at my favorite players of all time, Shabby, Alonso. We did used to have that where we weren't a top team. We are now a top team. We're now probably top 4 teams in the world. You could argue. And I think Mane's gone because of what George says with the easy titles. I do agree with that. I think he's gone, but we are now able to get better players that can replace him. And I think that Nunes will be very good. I've no doubt. Like, he looked great. Even in the game he got sent off, he looked really good. He looked like our most dangerous player, and he'll score a lot of goals. the issue is that mentality, I think he's just lost so much trust. I think one thing that I just wanted to say about Liverpool, because I feel like I've been very negative after a great result, is that we have always been very poor at the start of August. Even if we won all of our games, we've always been really poor at the start of August, but we've just managed to nick results. We're a bit of a slow burner team where we actually don't normally look good until about mid-October, and then we get on this big run all the way up until Christmas. And then after Christmas, we slow off for a bit, and then we go really hard all the way until the end. I think the thing is we just drawn a couple of games that we normally would have won. I think yesterday was, if you think about yesterday, was kind of when week 2 would have happened in a normal season, which kind of makes sense that, like, you know, if we, you know, we're a slow burner. If you think about like a late September when the normal season happens, where we start to kick in, that sounds about right for me. With that, where if you're, you know, it just takes us 4 weeks to gel normally before we even play well. So just certain things. I think Liverpool will maybe kick on, but we've got a really tough start. Like, I know that everybody does, but I think I've never seen the Premier League so competitive. I think this year there'll be a lot of really strange results. I think with the added money of Newcastle, Brighton look pretty decent this year. They look like they're going to really hold out. Leeds have put in a bit of effort. Forest battled pretty well against Spurs, and they put a lot of money into that team. I think there's some really good teams there. And Brentford really surprised me. They, you know, started really well as well. So I think there's going to be some really strange results this year. I think the league is as hard as it's ever been. Interesting to think, though, George. I just want to get your opinion on Leeds. I haven't spoke to you about it at all. How are your feelings on it this year? Been a good start for you guys, I would say. Like, if I told you before at the beginning of the season that you'd have, what is it, 2 wins and a draw? Is that right? Is that what you have right now?
Yeah, 2 wins, a draw, and a loss.
Yeah, I mean, you would have bit my hand off for that, wouldn't you, out of the first 4 games?
Yeah. Yeah. Really good, really. I mean, there's not much more to say. I thought us overcoming Wolves was massive for us, because that was always the sort of team that would always frustrate us. But I've just got to say, Southampton being 2-0 up and then throwing that away in the last 20 minutes was despicable. And in typical me way, I'm going to say this: us losing to Brighton after that Chelsea result was the best thing that could have happened, because there is still time to realise we still need a striker, and we can't keep playing a centre-back at left-back. That's another thing for Liam to answer. Ben Maldini cannot continue to play at full-back, and Liam knows this. And he'll say, when so-and-so comes back, it'll be fine. It probably will. But yeah, we've had a really, really good start, but I think there's still work to do in the transfer window. And like I've said, anything above 15th, I'm happy with. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, we should finish 10th now. Anything above 15th is more than good enough for me this year. So, yeah.
Are you buying into the manager now, Jesse Marsh?
Ooh.
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 Well, he's still not wearing a suit. And God knows why that is. I think I don't know if I'm buying into him, or if I like the fact that we are just not 3-0 down after 18 minutes every
You're
single
harder to
game.
play against.
Yeah, which is what we need to be. I think there's been a much more appreciated approach of who we are, where we are, and what tools we have at our disposal, which is a very, very good thing. I think that the connections he's had with the Red Bull network has helped us probably get some good players in at a reasonable price for us and for what we're looking to do. But the thing is, Liam, I think now that Bielsa's gone, that's it now. If you look at let's say we don't win any of our next 5 games, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. So, you know, what
there's
can I
no
say?
Safety net anymore. There's no manager name.
No, not really. And I think we shouldn't be revisionist. You two know I've never been. I said we should have gone down last year, and it was Burnley. It was Newcastle beating Burnley that really saved us. It was not. No, it was nice for us that we beat Brentford and we did everything we could. We did our bit, but Burnley, Everton, and Leeds all should have been cut adrift last year because we were all absolutely just a real stain on the Premier League last year.
I'm going to throw this into the mixer quickly, but it's not on the list, so you guys might be a bit surprised. But can we all I just want to get your thoughts on Everton, the start of the season. I genuinely think they've looked poor, very, very poor. But I don't know if that's my bias coming through from that perspective. But do you guys think that they are? I know me and George both had them as relegation candidates, but are you still thinking that, or do you think?
No, I've actually changed my mind, Maze. I mean, I've just looked at it and I've gone, well, Chelsea, massive club. They stop it being embarrassing. Aston Villa, they're not expected to win there. Nottingham Forest have got 2 Champions League. Did you know that? They've got 2 Champions Leagues. So to get a draw against them is massive. And then Brentford, they do really well. I mean, you need to get off Frank's back. It's not his fault. They should have been down years ago after they spent the GDP of an emerging economy in the space of 3 seasons. I just don't know why they got rid of Richarlison and then just didn't replace him.
Yeah.
And if Anthony Gordon's going for 60 million, right?
His goal was good as well, actually.
This mouse is worth 10 million if he's going for 60. Because as I said on a podcast the other day, I think Gordon's 52 games for Everton, 5 goals.
And they've all been deflections, apart from the one at the weekend.
Apart from the one at the weekend, yeah. You saw it on Twitter, yeah, they're all deflections. So for me, Everton are in trouble. Lampard I don't know how he keeps on this merry-go-round. And I think that the highlight of where they've got it wrong is Dele Alli has gone to Besiktas on loan. And he was supposed to come in and save him. He was supposed to come in and save him. Liam, take it away. Tell us how Dele is just go on.
I don't know what to say about Everton at the minute. Everton are bamboozling me. The market in general is bamboozling me, but
yeah, you keep messaging me about how bad it is.
I just don't. It's just blowing my head off. I mean, keep thinking it's April Fool's Day when I see some of these transfer rumours, and then you look at them, you're like, yeah, who's sending me that? That's obviously a joke. And then you look at it, you're like, oh no, that's legit. That's
Sky
an
Sports.
That's an actual transfer that's already been agreed, and the player is now in that shirt. Wow. I mean, you look at 60 million for Cucurella. You look at, United, we shouldn't be surprised anymore, but 72 million for Casemiro, something like that.
And they're treating him like a god. They're treating him like he's the second coming because he's got a cool name.
I mean, he's just looking for he even said it himself. He didn't say it directly, but he alluded to it. They said, are you not a little bit annoyed? Not annoyed. Are you did you have to think about maybe giving up Champions League football to join Man United? And he went, I've got 5. I don't really care anymore. Basically, I'm here for the money, is what he was saying, because he's going to have a massive wage now, and he doesn't care about playing in the top tier of football. So what does that tell you about that player?
Mm-hmm.
He's just here for the ride. And, can you blame him?
No.
He's been in the middle of and I think
dynasty.
I think you're going to see a bit of a surprise as well. I don't think we're going to. I know he's good. He's a good player, but he was also sitting next to probably 2 of the best players in this current generation, in Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. So let's see how he does against.
How old is Casemiro now? How old is he?
I think he's 30. He's 31.
He's early 30s,
I believe.
isn't he? Yeah. Early 30s.
Still got a couple of years left in him if he doesn't treat it like a money grabbing scheme.
So he's 30.
I mean, it's still quite young.
Yeah, in today's football, it is. Is it £72 million young? No.
I mean, you were going off about Chris Wood for 30.
I mean, that's shambolic still. I know every time I say it to a Newcastle fan, they say, yeah, but it kept us up. You do not throw 30 million at Chris Wood. Once Isaac gets his papers sorted out next week, they've just signed him for 65 million. We will not see Chris Wood in a squad for Newcastle ever again. So the guy's done, and he's 30 million off the face of the earth.
That's a good signing apart from the wage. Like, apart from the 60 million that they're throwing at him, I actually thought, oh, that's a decent signing.
It's a great signing.
60 million, like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So again, we're looking at that. We're looking at 60 million for him. I mean, he's obviously, he's got talent, and he probably will be a good player. Arsenal were looking at him, I think. A couple of other big clubs were looking at him. But we're talking about 60 million. 60 million, like these kind of numbers that are getting put through for these transfer deals. I don't know what these agents are doing, but they've completely screwed the mind of every owner in the Premier League. So yeah, I don't know what way this year's going to go. I don't think we've seen the biggest transfer yet either. I think there's still going to be a couple more that are going to surprise
Man
us with
United
3
will
days
put
left.
through something. They'll
This is
probably
what I
go
mean.
for some Wolves player for 120 million.
There you go.
Yeah, I could see Neves going to Man United for a stupid amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to happen.
That goal
He's
was
already done one of
class,
his
by the
long range
way.
goals. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
goal was
exactly.
class.
Just
Well,
on sorry, George.
I was just going to say, did you know Neves has never shot from outside the box and not scored?
Is that
Is that right?
true?
Of course it's
No,
not,
it's
but
not
that's what the
true.
media tell you. The thing is,
Like,
mate, you're the
like
sort of
what?
person that believes that.
I was
If you
just like,
if you look at his
what?
highlights, it's true.
His
Yeah.
highlights would claim that's true.
Yeah, it's true. The only reason I know that's false is because I actually watched their game on the weekend and I saw the shot that he missed and I was like, actually, that's not true. But just on Everton, I think I said on the first podcast, I think Lampard is nailed on the first manager to be sacked this season. And I'm so glad that is. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there.
Do you not think Scott Parker?
I don't
the way
think
he's coming out against the owners right now.
Let me just jump in with something on Scotty Parker, because I think I said it to you, maybe it was you, mate. I said it to someone. If we're all agreed that Bournemouth are going to finish 20th, right, and this is going to sound such a stupid question, we're just contemplating. If they finish 18th, has he done a good job? Like they should finish stone dead last because they're terrible. They should get relegated. They will get relegated. They will because they're rubbish. But if they finish 18th and they don't finish last, do you actually go, you know what? He did all right with what he had there.
If they're competitive until the end of the season, then yeah, it's a good. Say that if they're 18th and they're relegated by December, like 3 teams are all done by December. No, he's not done a great job. But if they're like on the last day of the season, they're kind of doing like a Burnley. He'd probably keep his job. He'd probably keep his job.
They're in real danger right now of becoming last year's Norwich.
Yeah. I think the thing is though, Liam's right when he's on about Lampard potentially being one of the first to go. But it'll only be for 3 months because then he'll get another job, and then after that he'll get another one.
I think this actually might. I think this is showing a side of Lampard that maybe other clubs will go. I want to be part of that.
I think he'll become.
He'll be the Bournemouth manager.
I think he needs to go to the Championship or League One and actually build a team up and gain some skills. He's probably going to be a good manager. It's the same thing. Like Jared's a bit of an enigma, but even he's being found out now. Where you would just want, I wish that Jared had stayed at Rangers or gone to a Championship team for a couple more years. I know that you can't say no to Aston Villa when they come knocking and you're the Rangers manager.
Same as Frank, he couldn't say no to Chelsea, right?
No,
the guy had absolutely, other than being a Chelsea player, had no right to be Chelsea manager. Zero right. He had no education really. Someone like Arteta, I know I'm banging the drum of Arsenal here, but he sat under Pep for 4 years, maybe more, and he's built a.
And he was an assistant coach manager, wasn't he? At some point, he was
He was coaching for his last years at Arsenal as well. So he's built that coaching knowledge. Well, these guys have gone, all right, he did a fairly good job at Derby. But then to go from Derby to Chelsea, that was never going to work. And I think he lasted less than a year?
Mm.
That's just more Sky Sports nonsense. That he did not do a good job at Derby for what everyone says. That team should have won the league.
It was a good team.
Maze, it had Mount.
Wilson? Did it have Harry Wilson?
Yeah, Harry Wilson, Fikayo Tomori. They had Premier League and Championship ballers like Tom Huddleston. They had Ashley Cole playing left back, for goodness sake.
Did not have Rooney there? Was that not at the same time?
No, Wazza was the season. Wazza was the season after. Right. But that was, I think he took them from 4th or 5th to 6th. They ended up beating us in the playoff final. That I think everyone then decided, because Bielsa's such a great manager, Lampard must be good to beat him. But no, I know we go after players and managers and stuff, but some people actually need to be held accountable for offering these people these jobs.
Mm.
I want Liam. I want Liam to go back a few years to when he was protesting.
I think you say you want me to be the Everton.
No,
I was like, no.
No, I want you to go back for calling for Ivan Gazidis' head on a platter, or Ivan the Terrible, as you used to call him.
Yeah, he was a nightmare. I think he obviously did a good job at Milan for the first couple of years, but I think now they're starting to sniff him out over there as well. He's always on a short-lived lifespan, that guy.
Can I know, Maze, you want to get onto Stevie, but can I just introduce a very, very toxic, controversial topic?
Always.
No, because
Spurs is going to win the league.
Oh,
it's not. It's something that we mentioned last season, and we had a little bit of disagreement, Maze, because me and Liam were speaking about how good he was, and you said he was just overrated by the media. But can we all just put ourselves in Jack Wilshere's shoes? He's gone to that Swedish, Danish, Scandinavian team. I'm sorry for not knowing, guys. I was
Danish.
very ignorant of me. Yeah, Danish. It didn't work out for him. I am almost certain that he will have had offers from a whole host of English clubs. If you're his age, which I think was 29, would you just happily go, right, I'm just going to be Arsenal, whatever it is, Liam, under 18s, under 19s coach? Or would you actually go, I thought I was worth 10 grand a week, but I'm not now. I'm only worth 3 grand a week, and I owe it to myself to stick it out and play.
Isn't he retired now? Am I going off the
retired.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, Maze, in that position, you still value your wage at, let's say, 10 grand a week, but you're only getting offers for 2 or 3 grand a week. Hold on, Liam. As a sports professional, don't you think, you know what, I'm going to go in there and prove them wrong? Or do you think it's a bit lackluster that he's gone, you know what, I'll just retire and take a job at Arsenal so I get some 90s merch?
I'll go first because I know Liam will actually have an educated answer on this. But I genuinely think when you are known to be from, 2 out of the 3 people in this chat, England's greatest player, could be England's greatest player, at one point. They literally could have been, was supposed to be the next England captain, was supposed to be the reason England won trophies. And then you go to not even being able to really play championship football. I think that mentality must just sting. It would sting a lot of people, I would say. And maybe just some people can't deal with it. And he's probably had a bit of fun speaking on TalkSport, Heaven Rouse with Simon Jordan. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? There's other avenues for someone like Jack Wilshere, who's actually got a little bit about him where he's probably got other deals outside of football that he could, there's future for him, I would say. But Liam, you know him a little, not know him, but you like him a bit more than me.
Check that way back. I actually gave him a fist pump after we beat Everton at home in 2017 in his car. Fantastic car he had as well. I think it was a Range Rover, but it was a nice Range Rover. And I just
nice
through the window.
Was it one of those Overfinch ones where it doesn't say Range Rover and it says Overfinch? Was it one of them?
It wasn't. No, it wasn't your it wasn't your stinker of a Range Rover. It was a legitimate one. I understand what George is saying. Well, I mean, we're thinking 2 things here, right? We're assuming that he didn't have offers, and you would assume that he would, even though he's gone into clubs like Bournemouth, and obviously he's not stuck with them, or they've let him go. Rather, he was still obviously a very good player, and he's able to put in very good performances. I don't think you're going out to the Danish first division if you've got offers in the Championship. Even for less money, potentially. I think to uproot your kids, he's got 2-3 kids. I don't think you're doing that anyway. So I don't know or fully believe that he had multiple offers on the table. I'm not sure. Secondly, I think the point you make is a good point, but I think if we flip it to the everyday person, if you're being tipped from an early age or from after working in a company for 5-6 years and you're being tipped for like a director role or a partner role in that company, and then you find yourself 3 years later taking, the bottom job or being offered the bottom job for a third of or a quarter of that salary, you're going to be a little bit bitter about it, or maybe think, if I've got a better option elsewhere, or to go and now be a coach for my boyhood club in Arsenal, then you may end up thinking that that's maybe a better shout. So I think it's one of those ones where you have to be in his shoes, and I'm sure he's on a pretty wage at Arsenal as well. And again, if he was going to the first league in Denmark, would you be, going out there or going somewhere similar to take a poor-ish wage or become a first team coach for the under 18s at Arsenal. I think you're probably going to end up doing that.
Well, the thing is, I completely agree with everything you said. I was just playing devil's advocate. I think he's done
I think
the
it's
right
such
thing.
a shame, though. It
There
is
is-
such a
there is-
shame.
There's no way that I'd be him, like, after going. Because the thing is, what I would say is, if he hadn't gone to Denmark, and I remember once seeing he was on trial at like a Serie C side.
Yeah, it
like,
was. Yeah,
in Italy, so,
I
like,
didn't get that either. That's what I mean. I don't think he had the options.
But doesn't that then just illustrate he could easily just sit on what I assume is a small fortune for his time at Arsenal and West Ham, and he could have just retired. He's obviously gone to try and illustrate that he just loves playing football and he just wants to play football, and you've got to respect that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if I could hook, line, and sinker Mays going, no, he should play because he's so lucky because I'm a fan. But Mays didn't give me
I'm
that
not a
bite
fan.
today. I'll get you next time, Mays.
He had an advert literally saying, "Please hire me."
Exactly.
He had a
Yeah. I mean, it was
banner.
all tongue in cheek, right? But I think the underlying message in there was, please, genuinely,
I
someone come
need a
in for me.
job.
Yeah. So I don't think he'd do that, albeit tongue in cheek. I'm sure he got a little bit of money from that as well, from Paddy Power, to do it because they love stuff like that. But I don't think he had a plethora of offers from every club in
all of
Championship,
those
essentially.
Paddy Power ones have an underlying truth, like the Giggs one,
Yeah.
the
His brother was on it as well.
the
I love
Mourinho
that
one,
one.
like top, some achievements aren't. They're all like a little bit
They're brilliant.
of truth. Yeah,
They're
great.
really good.
They're really good. Okay, look, we'll move on to Gerrard. We'll just speak about it quickly. I'll go over Aston Villa's since the start of the season. They lost 2-0 to Bournemouth, who we've just called the worst team in the Premier League nearly history. They won 2-1 to Everton, who we think are going to be relegated. Crystal Palace, they lost 3-1. They whooped Bolton, Ben Gocha, shout out. And then they just lost to West Ham this weekend 1-0. How long before, I mean, it's already on TalkSport, already, calling for his head. How long before Gerrard really starts coming under the cosh, and what does he need? Obviously, winning would really help, but how many games does he need to win before people stop this? Like, where does he need to be? Say at the end of September.
I think he's actually in a bit of trouble in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll go. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine because I think he's got a squad there that just at the minute, the way they were playing yesterday, it's just very dysfunctional at the moment, and he's not got a few things right. And I think once he actually corrects those, I mean, you're playing Watkins and Ings together, but half the time Ings was out on the wing, and he was crossing the ball into Watkins, and Watkins was the only player in the box, and he's trying to play those two with Coutinho just behind, but they're just not clicking at the minute. There's a bit of a dysfunctional way that they're playing. So I think he needs to mix that about. I think he needs to just settle that down, maybe take one of them out and just play back to how they were last season. When he does that, I think you're going to start to see a better Villa side, because they were putting in some good performances last year, just highly inconsistent. But the next 3 games or 4 games, he's got Arsenal away next on Wednesday. Then he's got City at home. Then Leicester away, which is obviously the Brummie, or kind of a Brummie derby. And then he's got Southampton at home. So those next 3 games, Arsenal, Man City and Leicester, if you don't pick up points from there, I mean, he's already getting it in the neck. Yeah, he's already getting it in the neck at the moment. So he could be in a spot of bother. And they're not games where, you can afford to tinker, which he needs to do. So something's going to happen. Equally, if they put in a really good performance against any of those 2 next teams, if they put in a good performance against Arsenal and nick a point, or Man City, same there, nick a point, that then turns the tables for them, and then they can really crack on against the likes of Leicester, against the likes of Southampton, and then against the poor Leeds side.
George?
Well, I actually think Liam's hit the nail on the head with his tongue-in-cheek joke there. I think this whole discussion about Steven Gerrard all hinges around what is your view of Aston Villa. Now, just to Mays, I think a lot of people will think Aston Villa came up not too long ago. I think the season before we did. Yeah, season before we did. So they're still, even though they were in Premier League for years and they dipped out for a little bit, they're still re-establishing themselves. And then I think he'd be fine. But the fact that they spent north of 30 million on Buendia, 30 million on Bailey, 25 million on Danny Ings, 25 million on Digne. They then got Callum Chambers from Arsenal, good, solid Premier League player. They then got Coutinho, Diego Carlos, and Boubacar Kamara, who I know we were after. I think he was a very highly rated player.
Yeah.
On top of the quality they already had. As a Villa fan now, they've got cash money. Like, they're not like us where we've got money, but we've got to be careful. They have got cash money now.
With that comes
So, like,
expectations, right?
exactly. Stevie comes in. He looks amazing. Lovely Charles Tyrrell quarter zip. Suit has been pressed. Like, stiff as a board. You could go like that on his shirt and it would not because it's so stiff. Amazing.
Fantastic haircut as well.
Yeah, exactly right. He hasn't aged a day since he left Liverpool. But Villa fans are now looking at it going, we need to start looking up rather than down. Last year, they should have got Conference League and they didn't. That squad was good enough last year to do that. I've spoke to Nathan before coming on, and he said, I'm leaning towards time for a change. If we beat Arsenal or City, I'd give him longer. But when we lose to both of them, it's time for the chop.
Ooh.
Because they're looking up now. He's come in. He had all of last season, and they just went like that. And then
I think they were more like this.
They weren't Mays. I think what everyone forgets is Dean Smith was sacked very early on. Steven Gerrard didn't come in February, March. Steven Gerrard came in, I think it was November.
Look where they finished, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you look at where they finished and you think, well, with the players that they then had, Coutinho came in the January, Digne came in the January. I think people were expecting a little bit more. No one was going after him. It's only that they've come into this season and you've looked at it and you've gone, actually, the team doesn't have any identity. They're pumping the ball up there like they've still got Benteke up front. And I just don't think as a Villa fan I'd be happy. I think for me, I wouldn't be on Nathan's ship, but I'd say we cannot get embarrassed against City and Arsenal. We need to keep it 2-0 at worst. But then following on from that, we probably need to win the next 3 games. We then need to beat Leicester, Southampton and Leeds and then beat Forest. Because for them, they should be a team that want to finish 10th at worst. Go on, Mays. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I think with the woulda, shoulda, couldas, if they'd beaten Bournemouth at the start, I think it's then understandable if you lose to Palace at home. I think Palace will win games at home. And I think the West Ham game's a bit of a, you're at home to West Ham. You should probably, and by all accounts, I didn't watch the game, but heard that the performance wasn't that good.
It was poor.
But I think I'm really, really sorry to interrupt you, Mays, but that's what I'm talking about. I think you're saying Palace as if like it was a team like Leeds or Southampton where you go there and you lose. If we go and lose to Palace, I'll just shrug and go, it's going to happen. We're rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
But for Villa now, I think for them, it should be 10th, 9th, 8th, worst case 11th, 12th. They're games that they should be turning up and winning and not just glossing over. If you would have lost one of them, fine, but they've lost quite a few now. They haven't played City, Arsenal, Liverpool and lost.
Do you think it's harder for Villa fans at the moment to see, for instance, how well Newcastle are doing with Eddie Howe? And because they've pumped a lot of money into it as well. I know they've probably pumped maybe an extra 50 million at the moment, but I can't imagine it's that much more. That's probably a very ignorant take. But the other one, like Wolves, just constantly seeing how good Wolves do just with decent managers. Do you think? I would love to ask Nathan actually, because
I think what he would say there is, I think he's realistic enough to accept that football is football and it's an unpredictable game. But he would probably say there is no style of play. Everyone knows Wolves are a disgusting team to watch and play against. They are.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna caveat that. I wish we played more like that sometimes. And I know Liam wishes Arsenal played like that from time to time to get some results over the line. And, that's fine. But I think he would probably say there's no recognised style of play. He's persevering with players like Coutinho and McGinn, who are dropping 1 out of 10s at the moment. And the whole thing with Tyrone Mings just got the season off to a stupid start. That was just unnecessary controversy in the media. So I think he'd probably say, if they had a style of play, be willing to persevere with it. But I think, unfortunately for Stevie, it's now illustrated that, yes, he did a good job managing expectation in Scotland, but 95% of the time, every week, he was going up against a team that were considerably worse than his.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's good points there. Maybe we get Nathan on next week to have a listen and have his viewpoint on it. Look, we're going to finish off with United, because last couple of weeks have been very positive for United fans. I thought there's been two different types of wins. There's been a very good win against Liverpool, where they played very well for. So I was actually in Tenerife with Liam at the time when it was on, so I didn't watch it live, but then ended up having to watch the extended 30-minute highlights of it, and horrible. Liverpool were horrible for about 75 minutes, and then sparked a bit of life when we scored a goal and started to come back through it towards the end. But United deserved to win it. They played the dirty game. They played the Bruno Fernandes, Liverpool scored. He does the whole keeping the ball thing, dirty tactics to do what it takes to win. They were kicking the ball out, and then they'd ask the ball boy to get another ball because it wasn't pumped up enough. Little things like that. I thought they played very like Atletico Madrid in a way. The other thing was they won a game they really didn't. I did not think they deserved to win against Southampton at the weekend, but it wasn't like, I think last year they might have lost that or drawn that game 1-0. I don't remember too many 1-0 wins they had last year where they held on for at least a half. And I thought that was a very solid performance. So I'm just wondering, do you think that Man United have turned a little corner, or do you think that it's all going to come crashing down really shortly? Because the Ronaldo stuff looks, from what I saw today, looks like he's pretty set on a move as well. Liam?
Yeah, I agree. I think good result against Liverpool. I feel like as a professional player and as a team like Man United, I think those games, if you're not getting up for them, then you're in the wrong job. So I expected a performance. I think they are lacking a lot of class still, but I expected a performance, and I think it was a bit of a multitude of things. I think they caught Liverpool maybe in a bit of a lull, which you have been. And also their performances couldn't really get any worse. And like I just said about Villa, sometimes I think you need, if you've had a bad start, which they have had, I think you need a big game to potentially give you the opportunity to, one, get up for it, and two, nick a result, so then that can then flip your season on its head a little bit, right? I feel like that's what that opportunity was, and I think they caught Liverpool a little bit sort of they caught them out essentially on that day. And any given other day, I think now if you play Liverpool after your result on a weekend, I think they probably lose that by 2, 3, 4 goals. So are they back? No. Can they win dirty? Again, I don't think it was maybe a sign of winning dirty. I think it was more of that ability to catch a team in a poor slump, and they really couldn't play any worse. They had to follow up at Southampton, and they did, but I don't rate Southampton in any way, shape or form. I think Southampton should have been down 3 seasons ago. The fact they're still loitering in the league, offering 0 to anything, really actually bugs me now. It's a little bit like Newcastle did before they got bought over. So yeah, I'm not convinced they're back. I think they are one game away from a capitulation again.
Interesting. George?
The funny thing is, Maze, you're saying like turn a leaf, but the only person who's in any danger here is you. Because I think I had them finishing 6th or 7th. Liam had them finishing 9th, and you had them finishing 4th.
Yes, I'm confident now.
To be honest, it means precious little to me. I'm sorry to say this, Maze. Liverpool were rubbish. Fullbacks were rubbish.
Yeah.
The team was rubbish because
Van
of all
Dijk was poor.
Yeah, injuries you have. Van Dijk was poor. What I will say is Alisson was very unfortunate with the first goal because he had Van Dijk blocking his. He couldn't see that he had unfortunate.
It's never normally Alisson's fault, to be fair.
Never know. I think Man United were up for that game and quite rightly so. But I mean, let's be honest. And I suppose I almost I can't think why I wanted to say this, but I wanted to say a similar thing about Arsenal earlier. Man United are bad for Man United. Irrespective of if you've got Aladici or Pepe Mel managing them, like, or even Freddie Ljungberg, if he ever did that, they still finish worst case 10th. Like that, like for them finishing 6th is bad, and I get that, but the squad's good enough to do that anyway. Southampton are rubbish. They should have beaten Southampton, but I think that the absolute massacre at Brentford, I think it shows there's a lot of problems there. It's all well and good people wanting to blame Ronaldo, and I think he obviously must take his portion of the blame in terms of unsettling a dressing room of lads with no confidence. Put it this way, Leicester have been rubbish, so that's Vardy nailed on to score a hat-trick when they play them. Then they've got Arsenal, and Liam says this is the best Arsenal team he's seen for 3 or 4 years, so Arsenal should be going confident there. So and then they've got us, so that'll be 6-0. But then they've got City, so
their
they'll just
record
get the win.
against you is so good, isn't it? Like, it's ridiculous, their record against you.
It's because we're rubbish against them. But I'm confident we'll get something off them this year. I think maybe if it's just a draw, which is rubbish, but with Bielsa, you just knew, like, 3 minutes in, Scott McTominay brace, and you're thinking, what is going on? So to be honest, Maze, they haven't turned a new leaf. They're just going to end up finishing Europa League again, because that's where they are.
Interesting. Boys, that is the end of our talking points today.
Just before we go, Bob, sorry, just on the table. Out of you two again, which of you had Arsenal finishing top 4?
Neither of us.
I still don't have Arsenal finishing top 4.
I'm
I
not
think
sure
it's going
I
to
do
come.
either.
I haven't come crash. I think you guys are going to go a reality check real soon.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. I actually was going to say this at the beginning and I forgot to say it. I think your biggest challenge of a season will be your first loss. And it won't be losing it. I think bouncing back, like, you've got so much momentum with you, so much positive energy. It's really good. I want to see what you guys are like when you lose a game that you probably shouldn't lose. I'm not talking about losing to City, 2-1. I'm talking about when you go to
when you lose to Everton.
Yeah,
when you lose to Everton.
Yeah, you lose to
always
Everton 1-0, right?
That's an absolute joke, by the way. That game.
Do you remember last season when Everton hadn't won for 18 games and Damari Gray scored that screamer against Arsenal?
Oh, it was a banger there.
I remember sitting there just quiet, just staring at the TV thinking, what have I just witnessed? Do you know what? The back pages, the media have already written the back pages for our first defeat. So they're buzzing for it. They can't wait. They can't wait to burn us down. So I agree with you saying.
I hope it's something like Mikel Tatters, something like that.
Mikel Arteta's. Oh, no, you work in media, George.
No, I should do.
All right, boys. Great podcast. Look, I think we're going to try and do one every Monday from here on out, and then we'll do the odd one midweek as well. So no matter what, we'll see you next Monday. If not, we'll see you before. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.